Can you hear me okay? You can hear me good. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've been really enjoying listening to everyone's poetry, and it's just lovely to be here. So thank you. And greetings from sunny Swansea. So I'm going to be reading from my two books today. The first one is Blood and Water, which was largely inspired by the birth of my daughter, among other things, and it's a sort of generic collection of my poetry. So I'm going to start by reading the title poem from it, which was written a couple of days after my daughter was born. Blood and Water. Mummy, they say the word like it's a title I'm supposed to own, but I don't, not yet, any more than I feel I own this precious bundle in my arms, who looks at me with the same mixture of amazement and bewilderment I find myself. And so I start to give in, day by day surrendering more of myself to your tiny willing slave, feeding, changing, feeding in an endless, sleepless wave, until days become nights, nights become days, as if through practice I will make myself expert, as if through familiarity I will make us family. Though my fingers fumble at each unfamiliar button, I fear to pick you up, lest you should slip through my grip and sleep so close I can hear each rumble, and place you determinedly on your back, your little arms outspread, a swimmer who has left me marooned on a shore where nothing fits. Whale-like, I am out of my element, beached, I cry, somewhere submerged between waves of love and fear. The salt pricks, I am ocean bound. Precious one, you lie, butterfly, drying your wings, not yet ready to fly. Tentatively, I pick you up, feel you mold your body to my holding, feel the love that is stronger than blood or water, feel you slowly becoming daughter. Thank you. And so the next one I'm going to read, a lot of my poems are inspired by the sea because I can see the sea from my house. I live very close. And so it has this way of emerging into my poems. This one was inspired by something I saw at Swansea Museum, which was a tiny cushion that was embroidered by a sailor. So this is called Love Tokens. What must they have thought, your sailor friends watching you on deck, your rough-hewn hands, brown bruised apples fiddling at pin-tucked velvet folds, heart and anchor weighed as you worked away your pristine stitches for your landlocked love. Your thoughts perhaps drifted to an island, an ocean's distance framed with chintz and curtains, your loved ones neat behind, perched prim and proper atop a mountain of cushions, velvet, smooth as scales, the soft sheen, salt curve of invitation. In the corners, you stitch a lover's token. Think of me when I am far away. Imagine her small white fingers, elegant as needles, her hair piled tight in a neat bun, the wispy strands that struggle from their pins. A seagull skrills, and overhead the sky flings relentless rain. Wood creaks, groans, and splinters, pins, needles, and stitches, too neat for your sailor's fingers to unpick. Your grip slips, trips, but your lips purse. You will not be broken by time or tide, but hook and line, with each thread's drawing from sea to moon and back again, hitch you one length closer to your mooring. Thank you. So the next one I'm going to read, it sounds a cliche writing a poem about Dylan Thomas in Swansea, but I live about 5 minutes away from where he was born. And so I wrote this poem about him. The name Dylan was from the Mabinogion, and it's from a character who was born in and of the sea. So once again, the sea comes into it. And I usually start this with a verse of a Welsh lullaby, so I'm going to do that. Si haeluli mabi, mae'r llongyn mynd i'r ffordd. Si fi mabi lwli, mae'r capten ar ei bod. Si haeluli lwli, cysgu, cysgu, mabi tlws. Si haeluli mabi, mae'r llongyn mynd i'r ffordd. He always had an inkling for the sea, that moondrift child with the whirlpool curls, his laughter melted sea foam. Scooping up in shovels the dwindling dregs patted into proud battlements, watched as the water slowly inundated crumbling moats and crooked towers to sink beneath the ever-growing storm. His first kisses were at this quayside. Soft like wet sand, he took her mermaid hand in his. She shrank back, eyes wide as a seal's afraid of the coming tide. They lobbed pebbles ferociously at waiting rocks, placed seashells to ears, listened to hear the flowing waves of sirens and the tides ebb and fall. And in his later years, landlocked, would peer into the lulling froth of beer and imagine mermaids pulling him back in again, the dark and creamy depths. Caught out by Rossili tides, they awaken from the belly of the worm to a wonderland of giant bluebells, reflected across the gaping yawn of the bay to distant shores and bobbing pygmy boats, and feel themselves explorers in a strange, exotic land. Somewhere in a dim hotel, he's a rocking boat all adrift. She flashes him a fishhook smile, reels him in, gills flapping, but at his embrace dissolves into bubbles. Her laughter reverberates across the waters. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to do one more from this book, then move on to the other one. It's a bit out of season, this one, but I like reading it. It's called Snowman, and it's imagined from the snowman's point of view. Soft white hands caressed me into being, molded and patted, arms marbled with cold, lips parted, snowflakes caught them as she hunkered down against the weight of my bulk, rolled me downhill to where I stood anchored by the efforts of her love. She ground me rocks for a smile, jagged, coal eyes burned pinprick memories of dead pines needled against white clouds. Her breath blew a frosted trail as she laughed at my comical carrot nose. My scarf, which slid beneath her grip, whispered wings through the snow. We posed for selfies, her arm around my pristine waist. I grinned, the words frozen on my lips, stupid in love. When she left in search of warmth, my branch arms reached to claw her back, twig tangled and wretched. Through the snow, her footsteps carve her distance. I stand, implacable, stiffly smiling to please her. What else can I do? And when she sleeps under a silvered moon, I cry soft, wet tears to the immaculate stars. My ice heart melts. So I'm going to read a couple from this one, if that's okay. Am I okay for time? I don't want to take up too much.
No, you're fine. You've only been on 10 minutes.
Okay, good. Right. This book is very different. It was written primarily in lockdown, although I came up with the idea for it before. It basically, it's hard to explain, but it puts the weird, there've been a lot of really strange events over recent years. Things like a total eclipse of the moon and the dust storms that we had that turned the sky grey. And then things also like climate change, Black Lives Matter and all the protests around that, and then finally the pandemic. So all of this kind of came together in this book, which is a weird mix of kind of apocalyptic imagery and political ideas and anger and frustration and faith. So that vaguely explains it. So I chose as the theme today, dreams. So I thought I should read at least one poem that relates to that. So this is called I Had a Dream, obviously inspired by the famous speech, but this is my interpretation. I had a dream for a better world, but then the cynics moved in and told me that since human beings are naturally selfish, greedy, and bigoted, I might as well stop dreaming and move on. I had a dream, so I bottled it and packaged it, outsourcing production to China to save costs. I had a dream. So I set up my own dream company, trademark, copyright, registering it in the Cayman Islands to avoid paying taxes. I have my patented dreamers, copyright, working on a 0 hours contract. I will not share my dreams because they are already trademarked. I had a dream to start a revolution, but decided to send an email instead. I have copied and pasted the contents of somebody else's dream and sent it to my MP, who will place it in their in tray along with all the other dreams they choose to ignore. I had a dream to change the world, but the world changed me. I had a dream that every computer in the world switched off and people had to cope with the radical notion of speaking to one another. I had a nightmare of a government who sold weapons of mass destruction to oppressive regimes and called it the perfect business plan. I had a better dream that one day we will finally realize that all the money in the world does not compensate for that sickening gnaw in the gut of knowing that you have caused the deaths and pain of innocent people. I had a dream that we would put down our weapons, but everybody called me a threat to national security. I had a dream, but everybody laughed and called me a dreamer. I had a vision, but they called me insane. I had a dream, and dreams are powerful, dangerous things, for every revolution started with a dream and every prophet was once a dreamer. I have a dream, and dreams cannot be tamed. Dreams cannot be molded or confined or forced into conformity. Dreams have a habit of multiplying. Dreams are contagious. Dreams, when they start to believe in themselves, are unstoppable. Dream with me. Thank you. So there's a series of poems through here that talk about ongoing national events, and some of them relate back to prophecies and previous events and things. The book bizarrely is illustrated with woodcuts of various strange things. This one is called Damascus 33 CE. The date relates back to the conversion of St. Paul, but it also relates to current events in Syria, which sadly are ongoing. On a hill overlooking Damascus, the hired official celebrates a job well done, remembers the expression on the face of his terrified prisoner whose blood now anoints the ground. Where's your God now? He sneers. He pockets a stone. But now, aren't we also blinded, struck dumb by the sheer stupidity of it all, year after year of intolerance and holy indifference, newspapers broadcasting the daily massacre of innocents as bombs rain their fury on tangled remains of lives, homes and futures. More than 400,000 killed, I'll pray for you, barely seems sufficient. No blinding flash, no Damascene conversion. A Syrian girl opens her mouth and starts to sing the 50th Psalm in Aramaic, a birth cry echoing across centuries of promises made and broken. Rahayim layala aktai kutak layak zoyed dry magiti hai. The sanctuary falls silent. Tears from the eyes of the Pope. Lacrimae rerum, the universe weeps with us. A candle dances into life in the darkness where we wait, barely daring ourselves to breathe. Okay, so I'm going to finish with the last one in this book, which is my attempt to kind of tie together the weirdness of the last few years and trying to kind of reinterpret faith and spirituality in the light of all the strangeness. So this one is called Our Father Eclipse, which is where the title comes from. And it starts with a tune that I was listening to a lot at the time. Songs and poetry are sort of intertwined in my life. And the tune is from the Gradual of Eleanor of Aquitaine. It's Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie I looked for you in the light refracting rainbows, tore open clouds to examine where the light came from, pincered through fingers encyclopedic sharp. I looked for you in the rosaries of broken promises, in the chanting of prayers, Ave, Ave, incense spilled through clasped hands on bended altar, in the stillness and the silence, after the storm, in the clear air, after the thunder rumbles her last, I find you here, not where I expected, not dancing but toiling over the dark soil, your fingers thick with clay, body bent and cloaked with darkness. Our Father Eclipse, Father of dropouts, Father of arms etched with the trail mark of needles, Father of the unloved and unlovable, our Father who art in the hell of every aching human heart, sleeping in doorways, hanging out in alleys shapeless as the shifting sky, who winks the pinprick stars, who arrows rainbows through the crude. Our Father Eclipse of the hollow-hearted, leaden heavy bones sunk with rain, draining shadows on the morning sun, our Father Eclipse, our Father not up there but right in here, in the shit-stained stink you're vomiting, beautiful, bruised but still breathing, damaged but still dancing, heavenly body, Mother Earth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I've been wanting to have Rebecca on for months and months, perhaps a year, but I was too busy at the time to to be actively booking people, and I'm so happy to be fully dedicated now, and school's out for summer. So Rebecca, as always, incredibly powerful and exquisitely detailed. The best quotes are some in the chat. Barely daring ourselves to breathe. The heavenly body of Mother Earth. If anyone wants to comment on Rebecca's performance, please unmute your mics and go right ahead.
That
I'm
was
always
wonderful.
totally wowed by you,
Oh,
Rebecca.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been such a pleasure to meet you all. Thank you. I'm going to
Particularly impressed with the
We're
scene.
here every week
With
too,
the
so come
poems.
back sometime.
I will be back.
Yay.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Wonderful, Rebecca. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And aside
What
from
a
being
lovely voice
exquisite,
you have too. You have a very exceptionally lovely voice. It just
It's
brings
beautiful.
out the house.
I
absolutely.
like all the sea poems. Sea
Oh.
poems are always good.
Yes, the sea comes into so many of my poems, even ones when I don't intend to. I'll set out to write a poem about a person, and the sea comes in. It's just once.
And any Dylan Thomas poem. I used to
I
live
live near
above,
the
I used
ocean
to
as
live
well,
above the
so
White Horse Tavern in New York, where Dylan Thomas would go. Heard a lot of stories of him too.
Oh, I bet.
Right.
Yes, from the other end. I'd love to get there one day. That'd be amazing. Yes.
yeah,
I
it's
live near where
worth
he was
doing.
born. I've been to Lan as well, where he spent a lot of his years with his writing. So
Beautiful. And as Mark said, Rebecca, you have such a peaceful, soothing, articulate, eloquent voice that it's a pleasure to hear you read. And not only then is your work exquisitely detailed and very moving, but it's moving to even hear you so clearly and so soothingly delivering it.
thank
Good
you very
point, Timmer. You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you very much,
Bomb.
Rebecca.
Absolute bomb. Thank you.
Yes. A bomb.
A
Bomb.
bomb.
I
A
know.
bomb.
That was a
Hey,
Monty
Bomb.
Python reference.
Okay, okay. Mr.
Nobody can
Bomb.
keep up with how hip Robert is, you know. So
I
I
think
can't.
I love your political poem as well about the dreams. That's I particularly like that one actually, and I love your voice. You've got a beautiful voice. Yeah.
You're unafraid to face the elements, and I
There
appreciate
you go.
it.
Absolutely.
To face the elements and tell the truth. That is
Mm.
wonderful. Yeah.
That's kind of a keynote of
Isn't
key
it?
point of poetry, when you say,
Indeed
Robert.
it is. Indeed it is.
Yeah,
As you do it yourself, Shach.
and you.
Yes,
Here,
Rebecca.
it's all the Spoken World Online Mutual Appreciation Society, and that's a good thing.
Oh,
Rebecca,
no.
yes, you described
tell the
in
truth.
your political work the dreams, and then you say the cynics took over, or something about the cynics and the way they see the world. It's fascinating, the crookedest people see everyone as crooked, and the most good, the best people see everyone as having greatness within them. So the way the cynics see the world indeed is bent.
It is indeed the mirror of the soul.
Indeed.
Get accused of being an idealist, but then I think, well, you don't have ideals. What do you have? You know,
Absolutely.
keep hoping,
Absolutely.
don't you?
Well,
Yeah,
you'll always
Rebecca.
have something to work towards if you have ideal,
Rebecca, I particularly enjoyed the dream poem, and I thought your voice, your songs really complemented the poems terrifically.
Thank you. Yes, a lot of the time I'm listening to a song when I write a poem or it inspires it. So in my head, they're part of the same thing.
Beautiful. Yes, I'm in total agreement, and I use song as a metaphor, which includes poetry and lyric. In much of my poetry, like Rilke, I love that notion of song. It's like, this one thing, this expression of the soul, whether it's sung or spoken.
Mm.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks a million, Rebecca. I'm so glad I finally asked you after all these months of wanting to. Lovely to have you and hear you. All right.